Welcome to Living the Dream Iowa Life. I'm your host, Hannah Nuss, and each weekday we'll share enthusiasm for what's possible and dive into the stories of Iowans living their dream lives right here in the heartland. Whether you're chasing a big goal or just looking for a little inspiration, we've got you covered. Let's change the world together. This is Living the Dream Iowa Life. Let's go. Heyo, welcome to Living the Dream podcast. Living the Dream Iowa Life podcast. It's been a minute since we've done this, so don't mind me and not remembering how to say things for this show. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. We'll get back here. Don't you worry. So one of the things that started this entire show, it's funny because I'm constantly brought back to it, and it hasn't been a thing in a while, but back in the day, it was somewhere around 2018, I start having this reoccurring nightmare. And in this reoccurring nightmare, I am being stolen or snuck up on or scared or something like that. And when this is happening, every time I need to yell and save myself, and words won't come out. Every time. And around this time when I was first starting this journey of what do I want to do with my life? Am I sure that I'm doing the right things with my life? How does one decide what to do with said life? Around that time, 2018, about the time that I turned 30, I was just back and forth in my brain of what do we do and why are we here and how do we decide these things? And part of me was like, do we go back to school? Do we just change careers? And then this very different part of me was like, there's something in this dream, some sort of unlived something that this dream, this echo, this push, this whatever it is, it's here all the time. And so this nightmare, the closer I got to figuring out what I was going to do, appeared so much more. The amount of times that I would be woken up from sleep with this dream, yelling, but not being able to yell, having no words at all. Probably at least twice a week around 2018. And it's a very scary dream because imagine you're being, stolen from somewhere and you can't say anything. And so you wake up out of breath and trying to scream, but not making any words. And it's intense. And the more that I had that nightmare, the more that I realized there's something related to having a voice, giving myself a voice, saving myself that's in the makeup of this. And certainly in the early times, I did not think or say that at all. I had to continue investigating this one, but I will say that in 2019, January of 2019, started recording my first kind of audio clips. So not necessarily a podcast. We call these the dark files. Recorded some audio clips, not very consistently. And then by April, we were consistently recording audio clips every morning. And the dream started to go away. And it really felt like, all right, I gave myself a voice and literally never came back. Just went away. And that it was just this is the first step to the answer of what this question is. What do you want to do? Who do you want to be? How do you want to respond to the world? And I think the answer was the show, talking this all out. And I had been saying to myself, it's time to get back to our normal self, time to get back to, and I felt this lack of expression of creativity, since I haven't been on this show. And a over need a need to kind of over express, because what I have found is that I need kind of like you run a dog down. By the end of the day, like the dog needs to go on a walk so it'll sleep through the night or why ever we walk dogs. The dog's got to get exercise. Well, like I am the same way. There has to be this beautiful balance of Hannah has expressed enough, Hannah has created enough that she allows room for others to create. And so, similar to a dog who needs a walk at the end of the night, like in order for my ego to be in check, in order for me to be personally balanced, to let other people shine, right? Like I have to take myself for a walk. And that essentially is what this is. This is a part of my creative process. This is a part of me having my voice heard without having to interject it into every conversation, without having to demand the stage and put myself in the spotlight in every situation. Because here's the deal. Someone that speaks all the time and has meetings all the time and does all of that, like the opportunity is no longer limited. And in the beginning it was like, okay, maybe I'll get a chance to speak at this next meeting, maybe I'll get a chance to present. Well, now those opportunities are all the time. And so do we need those opportunities? That really is the question. And yeah, those are great to have, but like they need to be balanced. It doesn't always have to be me. And in order for me to find that balance, I have to give myself creative outlets to kind of wear myself out so that I'm not over exerting myself in these meetings. So I'm not always forcing for an opportunity for me to kind of like explosively word vomit all over everyone, because I need to be seen and heard. I need to create opportunities for me to be seen and heard outside of the other ones. I have to wear myself out and find a balance. And so this show has always provided that balance for me, has always created like a first runoff of that excess energy for me. I have to be able to talk things out before I go into them. And that makes this life really tricky, because I can tell you in these super small places that I choose to exist in, I'm a weirdo, right? Like, what a weirdo. What a weirdo. Why is she doing that? Why live everything out loud? You could just like quietly live, not let anyone know what you think. You don't have to write about your experience. You certainly don't have to talk about your experience. Like, just do what everyone else does, right? Like, keep your cards close to your chest. Don't put it all out there, because if you put it all out there, people can decide, and then they could not choose you. And how scared are we all of that? And believe me, there are days where I'm like, well, oh no, it was probably something I said at some point. Gosh, let me track back through the hours upon hours of video that we've recorded, the word over hundreds of thousands of words that I have put out into the world. Let me just track back all of that. There's no way to do that. And so I think, living like this definitely is a dangerous way to live, especially in rural worlds in which I seem to continue existing in. And yet it's not a choice. I don't know what to tell you. Like, this is essentially my prescription for the anxiety, kind of the beast on my back, right? Like, you don't have nightmares like that. Those are telling you something, especially if it's the same one. Like, Those don't exist unless there is something to do with them. And I think for a little while, I wanted to just outrun that. I wanted to keep running away from it. I wanted to keep just like ignoring that that was happening or that there was something significant or important in all of that. And what? Of course there was. Of course there was something there, and it doesn't keep coming back. And the options were pretty crazy. So the options were feel this, feel concerned about it, dig into it, figure out what this is trying to say, or take some pills. We can solve this for you. It's not going to be a problem anymore. You want to sleep? We got you. We got the perfect pill for that. You'll never have a nightmare again. Pop it before you go to bed. You'll be out like a light. It's not going to be a problem. You probably become dependent on them. Maybe we'll wean you off of them once the nightmares kind of subside. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. You probably won't. You'll be on these for the rest of your life. Okay, but this will solve this problem. And it was like, ugh, this is trying to tell me something, and it seems really painful to navigate and figure out for myself. But what is this? What is this dream? And so last night, guess what? We haven't been podcasting for a while since the accident because in the beginning, really, it was the lights were super intense. I actually recorded the week of the accident. I ended up recording that week. And by the end of the week, I started really noticing the effects of the head injury that I had sustained. And you can see that. And I didn't realize it at the time because I really felt like, oh, concussion symptoms are in the beginning. I remember getting concussions as an athlete, and it was like, oh, yeah, 2 or 3 days of some light sensitivity and some headaches, and then you're good. And mine didn't happen right away, which I was on some pretty strong muscle relaxers and pain relievers. So I think, and the adrenaline still pumping through my body when when you experience something that's so close to like near death, I think you could ride that high for a little while. And once I took myself off of those meds, because I was like, really, my body isn't sore. I don't need these. As soon as I took myself off of those, it was like, oh no, this is not good. Wow. One, I should not be driving. Two, I should not be doing really anything. And so you see that, and I didn't publish any of those episodes because it was kind of hard to watch. And maybe I will later, but I didn't I didn't understand that that's what was going on until probably 3 or 4 days later, and then took myself to the doctor that weekend, that next Monday. Anyways, so because of that accident, we stopped recording because honestly, I couldn't handle the lights. Screens are still cause a flare up of symptoms. So that's definitely something that I'm still working to find a workaround for, because I probably have about an hour of screen time before I start to really notice and experience symptoms. Still, we are 5 months out, still experiencing symptoms related to screen usage. And so you can imagine what that means, right? No cell phone, no social media, no movies, no added excess screen time if I want to be able to work and do the things that I have to get done. And so I don't know, still trying to find the workarounds for all of that. Writing on a lot of e-ink screens has been helpful, and now figuring out what the pod setup actually needs to be so that I'm not staring into a screen, experiencing the effects of a blue light, right? And you go, well, just get yourself some blue light glasses. Yeah, in a perfect world, that works, and it's amazing, and it's not a problem. Sorry, screen difficulties. We needed to charge. Okay, there we go. So yeah, we've got blue light glasses. That might be something that I experiment with here when we're podcasting. But here's the deal. Every moment that I was away from this show, I could feel sort of my ego reigniting. And not that this, and listen, you need your ego. Like, we need to know how to get it in check. We need to know when to put it in play. And I think that was a really important understanding for me, that like sometimes people talk about, oh, get rid of your ego and you'll be fine. I think understand how your ego works for you and against you, and understand how to keep it. Like, how do you keep that kind of playing and in check? And so for me, the show is a part of that. And at the same time, I have to have that once in a while, because I am doing crazy things that if I did not have a larger than life ego, I would not be able to venture into them. Because sometimes it's just like, all right, ego, get us through this. Hey, I'm the best. Everyone listen to me. I know what I'm doing, even though I don't. That's what ego is good for. So we don't want to get rid of it completely, because we absolutely need it, especially if we're going after dreams. Like, we're going to need it to navigate some hard conversations, to navigate people doubting us, to navigate just going after what we want, regardless of what the world says. And so I think this is a daily practice in sort of balancing and recalibrating how my ego is going to play through the day, and giving it a chance to kind of own some space, so we don't forget how to play that card when we need to. And again, taking it for a jog, like taking my self-expression for a jog, because she's hard to wear out. Like, my preschoolers, I remember when they sort of got my two kids, when they got to the level where they were sort of ready to move on to kindergarten, they were ready for a full day of school, they were ready to be wore that far out, we had to start exercising them more. And some people would go, oh yeah, we need to give them pills so they can sleep, or not even pills, kind of there's gummies and different things. I'm like, no, their threshold increased, right? So like, wear them out, find a way. We still do that with my second grader today. Like, oof, girl is at a point where she has leveled up in what she can handle in a day, and now we need to kind of take that energy meter all the way down. And whew, she has, oh, that meter never seems to go down, I am not gonna lie, and she probably is more like me. And so we have to get very creative as to how we wear that out in a day. It is hard to do. She has a lot. But I am the same way. Like, there's a lot. There's a lot that I need to put on my plate. I was typing out like, what was the impact of the accident inevitably. And the biggest impact was the fact that everything that I do probably requires at minimum about 12 hours of work a day, minimum. And that requires me to, yeah, wake up a lot earlier than most humans do, right around that 3 a.m. mark. Well, after the accident, like, my brain needed to rest, which you don't think about. Oh, your brain needs to rest. Yeah, it needs to recover every day from the work that it did that day. And so I wasn't sleeping at all, which meant I was super wore out, not able to be productive in the normal sense of what productivity looked like for me. And oh yeah, you take out that extra kind of 4 hours of work before the rest of the world wakes up. And that puts you right back to about a normal workday for most humans. Whoa, normal workday was not something that I was capable of really doing in the early hours. In the early onset time, I was really just focused on therapy and recovery and rest. And so then you really whittled down the working day from 12 hours a day down to two, maybe, and even two wasn't really happening. And so, yeah, I was working like a normal human being and then even less than that. And that impacted everything negatively. Like all of my business relationships, all of the different things that I was doing. Some people had grace and just said, like, yeah, get healthy, go do you. And other people were like, I mean, you used to work a lot, now you're kind of lazy. Or some people, these were the best ones. Ooh, Hannah's down. Here's our chance. Here's our chance to pounce. She's down. She's out. Let's go. We can do the things we want. And I think the funniest thing about that is everyone can. Like, what I'm doing is not like Hannah's some super genius who's studied and done all of these things so well and for such a long time. She's the perfect person to lead this. Like, no, I'm just the one who did. That's it. I just decided that I wanted to fix something, and I decided that I was obsessed enough with this problem that I would keep working until we found a solution. And I wasn't like granted by some fairy that went, oh, yep, it's you. Fairy godmother, Hannah, you're the one. I will say I, there were different kind of signs and calls that I asked for and received very specific messages about, but no one came down and said it has to be Hannah, right? So like everybody could have just moved as they wanted, and it would have been just fine. But sort of there were these moments of, whoa, this is our chance. Hannah's down. And I only laugh because it's like, okay, but she won't be down long if you know her. So, and least we not forget when Hannah kind of has her ego in good check, she doesn't forget. And she keeps receipts. Like, trust that the wall right beside me, that you can't see in this, is full of rejection and hurtful things that people have said to me, about me, printed and framed for a constant reminder that, yes, you are amazing, and at the same time, you are human and you make mistakes and you are flawed, and that people don't believe in you, and those people who do not believe shall be crushed and proved wrong. It's not true. But I do think just remembering that everyone's perception of you really is theirs, but you get to decide how you respond to that. And my response, I think, will just always be maybe not in a proving them wrong, but definitely in a winning out the majority. Even if I can't win those people back, like, does everyone think this about me? And oh, I remember one of my very favorite emails that I ever got from a parent back when I was coaching, that I will never be a role model for young female athletes, and that it was so hard because I was so young and I had two young daughters and I was coaching, and I really felt like, man, this is such a great thing for these females to see, that like, just because you have kids, just because like you can still go after the things that you want. And I always wanted, to lead a team. I always wanted to to lead a charge, and we did that, and we were very successful. And so I remember the email, which I still have saved, even though it was probably 10 years ago now that I coached. I remember the email that was just like, "You'll never be a role model for young women. You are an embarrassment of what this coaching profession is. You are a pathetic excuse for a coach." And it was just like, she's not wrong. Like, someone had that experience of me. And sure, the majority didn't, or they did, and winning mattered more. Like, whether or not I was creating a good experience for female athletes, I really have no idea. But I will say that when you're successful, that seems to override anyone else's experience. So it's like, well, she wins though. So, and I don't know, that was just, it was so painful to read. And I think that it was really important for my understanding of what the risk of leadership really is, and the risk of leadership and the risk of putting yourself out there, which really is the message of this entire show today, is that people get to decide. And most people just live quiet, keep cards tight to their chest, and don't put themselves out there enough for people to decide. Or they put themselves out there once they got bad feedback, and then they were like, nope, we can't do that ever again. And then they sort of kind of rip anyone else down that does do it or is successful at it, because they still have that sort of ego bursting inside of them of like, what could I have done? Why didn't I keep going? And yeah, like, everyone gets to decide. That sucks, right? And they're going to say some terrible things about you. And you get to decide whether or not that's true. And it was true. Like, I wasn't being, I think, as I reflect back on those days, I wasn't being who I was in the beginning. And she wasn't wrong. And really, that email probably was one of the things that made me go, they're right. I'm done here. I'm done with this experience. I'm done coaching female athletes. This was such a great and important chapter, but I'm done. I am. I'm not who I was in the beginning. I am wore out. This type of experience is awesome, but it definitely takes a toll on your life. And running and sprinting like that for that amount of time was just like absolute madness. And this ability to sort of check in, check out, whatever, is really important. And some people will never know what it's like to lay it all out there, to really, like, I was trying as hard as I knew how to be an influential role model to young female athletes that I was responsible for. And the feedback was that I wasn't, right? And that's only from one person, but definitely those words hurt, they stick. And so I like to stick them so close to me so I can remember that I also am terrible and working and like going to deliver on some of those words that were said. Like, I am not those things. I may have been those things at one point. I may have shown up as that. But I am better than all of these words and rejections that I keep close. And I am crazy competitive, and I will not be those things. No, I cannot lose. It's fine. It's fine. No one said mean things about me. It's fine. But back to where we started, which we came a long way around the sun, but here we are. Last night I had that reoccurring dream, and I realized it's time to get back to the podcast. It's time to get back to the way that I live my life, because it is important that Hannah does not overexert herself in situations throughout the day. Leo, sun, and moon. I mean, come on. We got a lot of Leo energy here. We got to be able to run it off, okay? And I think, this is a way to give myself a stage so I'm not stealing stages from people. And we got to keep that kind of stuff in check. And it's a scary way to live life. Writing books about your life puts it all out there for people to decide. And people do decide. And they don't say nice things when they do. And that's a part of this experience too. And there are people who say wonderful things. Always less of the wonderful thing people. But there are people who really appreciate the way that you exist in this world as well. Now, do I hang those things up? No, certainly I do not. Just all of the mean things, because I think the mean things are a great reminder of the beauty of the balance of this world. Like, I can't be my fullest self without some form of expression. And without a form of expression, without putting it out there, without pushing myself to live authentically, without like giving people a checkpoint and them being able to say, oh, well, on Tuesday, 3 months ago, you showed up this way, but in your book that you wrote 4 years ago, you said you'd never show up that way ever again. And yet that Tuesday, you did. What? Who are you? And it gives people a checkpoint, and that's fair. It's fair to be called out on that stuff. So even though it is a dangerous way to exist in this rural world that I live in the world at large, because it puts you out on, I would say a pedestal, but I would say it's more like a plank, friends. I would love to call it a bright, shiny, beautiful pedestal, but it is a plank. Out on the plank, kind of constantly walking forward and backward, just hoping that you don't get fed to the sharks soon. But knowing that you probably will, and you're going to have to kind of climb up the boat at some point and get back on that plank again. And so this is me putting myself back on the plank. So happy to be back here. So grateful for the amount of therapists that poured their energy, their healing energy into me. We have whittled ourselves down from, in the early days, probably doing about, I don't know, extreme days. I was doing about 5 hours. No, sorry, like plus drive time, probably about 5 hours of therapy. But, actually, I mean, yeah, probably, if we count driving. So we've whittled down therapy to about 40 minutes a day, almost done with my in-person here, and then just doing some at-home therapy still. But by the end of May, very hopeful that that will be completely done with therapy and really back to normal life. So excited to be here, excited to be kind of rooting my day in this empowering conversation that I get to have with all of you. And hopefully this is helping your car ride go easier or be more excited, or hopefully this is helping some part of your day just to keep this conversation moving forward. And obviously we never know what Hannah's going to come on here and say, because she woke up and had a dream last night, and that was what her podcast was about today. So weird, but that is essentially the show. This is me living my dream Iowa life out loud. And, hopefully it calls you to do the same and to continue moving this conversation forward. Because I know in the beginning of the show, it was like, really? Every day? That didn't really exist before. And there was just this call that I needed this release every day. Yes, every day. That's so extreme. It is. And intentionally so. Hannah needs to go for a walk before bedtime or in the morning or however often. And so I'm grateful to be here with all of you. I'm so grateful to be back. I'm grateful to have that dream that was like this morning when I woke up, oh, I feel a little groggy today. Do I go back to sleep? No, we can't have that dream. I mean, the second that I started the show, started putting it out there, the dream didn't come back. I know there was a little bit of a blurb where I wasn't on to my second book that the dream kind of came back. And the second that I started writing the second book, boom, gone. And then obviously last night had that dream again. And it was like, okay, we got to get back to podcasting. I got to get the book edited, like time to wake life back up and get back on our normal. So happy to be back here with all of you. Excited to see where we go from here. So that was a very unexpected interruption. But one that now looking back, I could not be more grateful for. I think it answered a lot of questions that I had at that time. So as always, you're smart, you're strong, you're beautiful. What are you going to do? Change the world.